Today on Locked On Rockies, everyone, not just the young guys, not just the vets, not just the coaching staff, not just the front office, need to step up in order for the Rockies to see success.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock On Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 20th day of March in the year 2025. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, you're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here each and every day, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. Just head on over there, pop a question, a comment into that comment section below the videos there, and we will dive into those questions, comments, and concerns here. It's this, of course, Locked On Rockies. I am your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here. Been doing this for a bit now, hundreds of episodes now. So we love talking rocks with you here on. Little sneeze there. Sorry for the audio stuff. If you're watching on the video side, you got to watch a nice video of me doing a sneeze. I'm sure that's exactly what you wanted to see this morning. Anyway, today on the show, I just wanted to kind of highlight some stuff that I really liked this headline, and we'll dive into some of these other stuff here. But the Rockies facing tough decisions is a good thing for them, as highlighted here by Patrick Saunders in his latest article for the Denver Post. Rockies face tough roster decisions in rotation, outfield, and bullpen, and that's a good thing. We'll take pieces from that. Fortunately, Purple Row will bring us back to reality a little bit as well. We're just showing some signs, but basically, I want to use this episode as a reminder that for the Rockies to get where we want them to be, it isn't going to be a guy. It isn't just Momford. It isn't just Schmidt. It isn't just Buddy. It isn't just Tovar. It isn't just Doyle. It's a full unit that all has to come together and make the steps and strides in the right direction. And we'll also talk about the fact that being put in this situation where you have to have these tough decisions is a good thing for the Rockies. We'll also get some warning signs here that we need to keep in mind while we're hyping up all this stuff too, and while we're building up the energy. Before we dive into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Go check that out there. So we start over here where Patrick Saunders writes about how Chase Dollander, Zach Veen, and Zach Agnos have all made a case for making the team and for putting pressure on the Rockies. And this is another test for this front office and the organization, right? We've seen other teams go young, and we've seen the Rockies do it, right? I think the biggest thing that kind of is sticking out to me, especially at this stage of spring training when we're looking at the Rockies, what stuck out more about Ezequiel Tovar than when he was younger than it stuck out about the young guys? And there could be multiple examples. I please, if you know in the comments, please let me know. But I'm just saying, like, why were you so ready and confident to say, Ezequiel Tovar, here you go? Shortstop is yours. It is a position that carries a lot of value. It is a position that historically the Rockies have been successful at. Here you go. What do these other guys need to show that they deserve to be the starting right fielder? What do these other guys? I mean, and again, I still think Nolan Jones has shown enough at the power concern, certainly. But my big question is, what do the Rockies need to see over the next few days in order for it to be a decision that does say, let's trust him? And I think Zach Veen is a prime example, right? The injury history, the lack of the games, it's all concerning. But then when you're looking at what he's been doing this spring, and when you look at the energy and you look at the tools that he brings, why is that not instilling the same confidence in the Rockies? It's got to be the health, right? That they saw in Ezekiel Tovar. Let's read a little bit here from Patrick Saunders. Veen, the 9th overall pick in the 2020 draft out of Florida's Spruce Creek High School, is pushing hard for a roster spot. Entering Wednesday play, he was hitting .318 with a .991 OPS, two homers, 4 doubles, and 11 RBI. He leads the Cactus League with 7 stolen bases. Veen, 23, plays with energy and abandon and could be the spark the Rockies need. The problem is the Rockies need someone on the roster who can back up Brenton Doyle in center field, allowing Doyle to get off his feet occasionally. Sam Hilliard was given a guaranteed $1 million contract to fill that role, but Hilliard has been awful this spring. .57 average, 2 for 35 with 20 strikeouts and 39 plate appearances. That's 51.3%. If Colorado cuts Hilliard, can Veen, a corner outfielder, occasionally play center? The Rockies brass is debating that. Regardless, Veen needs consistent at-bats. If he can't get them with the Rockies, he'll get them at AAA and get called up later in the season. Plus, the Rockies do have some decent outfield depth. Sean Bouchard and Nick Martini have had terrific camps, and Bouchard is getting some looks as a backup first baseman. Bouchard has minor league options remaining, but he's earned a spot on the 26-man roster. He's done what the Rockies hoped he'd do last spring. He'd entered Wednesday hitting .368 with a 1.122, so 1.122 OPS, 3 homers, 3 doubles, and a triple. So when I hear that, right, and when I see that, my immediate thing is, boom, you got it right there, right? The consistent at-bats is the big sticking point, right? And I think when you read initially, you're like, maybe we should give Sean Bouchard the benefit of the doubt. But try one of them out in center field as the backup. Again, we're looking for a backup center fielder, right? We're looking for the backup center fielder. Let them play, consistently get the time in right. And maybe that translation doesn't work as well as I'm thinking. But if you're only playing center field occasionally, does that need to be your primary focus? Do you need to be the greatest center fielder of all time? Or can you sneak in there and let Veen play center? You have Bouchard play right, and then Chris Bryant DHs. Or if this again is, it's like if Chris Bryant struggles, this hampers opportunities for these guys. I mean, these are exciting springs for both of these players, and this is the type of stuff we needed to see. Again, we talk about the veteran guys and their possibilities, but there should really be no shot, in my eyes, that Martini is the starting right fielder. When you have a young Zach Veen, who, sure, maybe you want him to get the consistent time so he starts at AAA, but there's no way that you're going to sit there and say that Sean Bouchard doesn't deserve the shot when he's doing what he's doing. 368 average this spring, like we said, a 1.122 OPS, 3 homers, 3 doubles, and a triple. That's what the Rockies need. That's what the Rockies need to see. That's what the Rockies are believing when it comes to Bouchard. But again, to kind of go back to the main point of Saunders' article here, it's a really good. This is a good place to be for the Rockies, because it puts pressure on the staff to really break down and say, okay, we do have some pieces here. We do have the depth. Now we got to make the decision to go for it. And again, I just really don't see what is the message you send for 2025 if Nick Martini is your starting outfielder. And again, I'm all for a great spring. I like the veteran presence, but I think him being a veteran bench player is a better option. Why? Because the Rockies have to figure out what is going on with these guys. The Rockies have to start sifting through this logjam. And Nick Martini is not part of the long-term plan. This season's part of what makes this decision so tough, part of what makes this decision so important is the Rockies are setting up the future at that position, right? You're trying to find the next guy to settle in there to build out the core, because if Nolan Jones bounces back, you're basically kind of pointing and saying we're looking at pretty much being set just about everywhere we want to be, with a handful of exceptions. If you think about it, there's a possibility that the Rockies have, what is that? If the whole outfield is that, it's Tovar, what's that? 5, 6 players on the start, 6 position players that could be on the field at once that have less than 3 years of MLB experience playing at the same time. And that might worry you. But also that should be the stuff that the Rockies are willing to risk and try and go for and challenge these guys in order to figure it out. As much as we're still seeing warning signs from this spring, as much as we still have some, we hesitate with the Rockies, these young guys, Veen and Bouchard especially, putting pressure on this organization to say, look, what are we going to do? Why do last year over again? Why play Nick Martini and Jake Cave 120 games when you can go with the Bouchards, you can go with the Veens, you can go with the Becks, you can go XYZ down the line for right field? I just don't think that and it's like, oh, but we need the veteran presence and we need these guys that have the experience and have been there before to do this. They're the ones that are going to contribute the most. It's like, I don't necessarily think that I don't think Nick Martini is going to be the needle mover. I don't think that that's really the total game changer for the Colorado Rockies, that a young upstart Bouchard. What if Bouchard can come out and do what Nolan Jones did his rookie year and contribute on offense that way? What if Zach Veen is the spark plug, the energy the Rockies need, and he can come in there, and maybe he's not leading the league, but he's giving you stolen bases. He's getting aggressive. He's pumping up the dugout. He's bringing life. He's bringing energy. If you go with just the vet guy to go out there, you're taking possible Rockies hype and you're just smushing it down further. This is a good spot for the Rockies to be in, because it's going to challenge them from the top down to make the decisions that again, you let me know, Rockies fans, would you be more excited would you be more confident? Let's take excitement out. At your core, in your core, do you think the Rockies win more or less or the same if they go young and focus on Bouchard and Veen getting reps, or Martini getting reps, or Hilliard getting reps, or XYZ, veteran guy? Do we think Nick Martini and Sam Hilliard are difference makers enough that it is worth not getting Bouchard and Veen on the field? Not to mention the long list of other players that could, Beck, Jones, Greg Jones, the long list of players that need playing time and experience out there. Use your time wisely this year. Use it wisely. If we watched 100 losses last year with the focus being we're putting the lineup out there that's going to win games. Now I want to see the lineup where it's going to let the young guys get the experience they need. And I think these tough decisions facing the Rockies put them in a really good spot. A good spot because it's challenging them. The young guys did not come into this spring and regress. There was a lot of guys that came into camp and started making some noise. And now it's time for the Rockies to listen to that. All right. In segment number 2, it's more than just one player. It's every single person in this entire organization is going to have to step up to make this a season in which that the Rockies are going to show progress. Not just the players, not just the front office. It's going to take a lot more than just one guy, just Zach Veen or Bouchard or Sean Bouchard in the outfield to make a difference for the Colorado Rockies. I'll explain coming up next, but a reminder that you got to go check out we read a little bit from Patrick Saunders here. Rockies face tough roster decisions in rotation, outfield, and bullpen, and that's a good thing in the Denver Post. You can go read that there and go check out that information there. All right, so let's take a quick break, and we're going to be back in action in just one moment. But first, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible. And that includes our friends at Upwork. Upwork is the spot for you to help you scale your business with the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and lots more, ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork has got you covered with business flexibility by connecting you with top-level freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with the right marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, multiple qualified candidates can pop up and you can choose from them, so you're getting the right spot or the right person for your job. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. We are also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Yes, FanDuel, big time for FanDuel and all the action, because March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. And maybe while you're on the app, scrolling around there, looking around, maybe go check out some MLB futures. Go see what the Rockies are up to and get ahead of things as you put some action on the baseball season. Picking your favorites is super easy to use. If you got your eyes on underdogs this year, FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. And of course, the FanDuel app is easy to use and simple. When you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. For your second listen of the day, go check out our pal Sully on Locked On MLB and our guys at Locked On Fantasy Baseball. Got you covered for your draft night, making sure that you know who to pick, who to place, and who to get on your team. Who would you want from the Rockies on your fantasy team this year outside of Doyle and Tovar? I think Michael Toley is a sneaky good fantasy baseball pick this year. Someone that I think can hit a lot of bombs. I think that he's one of my top Rockies to watch this year is Michael Toley. And because he's one of, this leads in pretty well to our second topic of the day here. It isn't just one position. It isn't just Monfort. It isn't just Bud Black. It isn't just one piece of the puzzle. Every player needs to step up this year. Every person in the front office, every single person within this organization needs to improve in order for the Rockies to ricochet off the bottom. It can't just come from, we won't wave a magic wand and right field immediately becomes the best position on the field. We can't just sit here and hope that Toyle, oh my God. Doyle and Tovar. Ow now, brown cow. Okay. We can't just sit there and say, oh, it's just on those guys. It's just on those guys. They're the only one that's going to be successful. We can't just sit here and say, we need Chris Bryant to go back and rewind the clock. No, it's going to take everybody. It's going to take adjustment and improvement across the board. It's going to take the Rockies challenging themselves in order to see the progress. Because, again, the warning signs are still glaring about this team. The predictions about this team are not kind. The payroll has been cut. I mean, there are so many factors and things that you can look into this. But this is the situation the Rockies are in. This is the situation that they have put themselves in. And this is the situation that they have to deal with. But if the Rockies are going to exceed their expectations of being the worst or second worst team in baseball, it's going to take improvement across the board. Ryan McMahon has to take a step forward and be a bigger contributor. Chris Bryant has to stay healthy and contribute. Whether if it's not power, he needs to figure out a way to hit doubles and drive in runs. Estrada needs to have the bounce back year. He needs to show that he's got those tools, that he can be the impact player that he's shown in the past, and why the Rockies believed in him. He needs to show that it was worth moving on from Brendan Rodgers to go for something like this and demonstrate that the toolkit is still there. Tovar and Doyle have to continue to get better, have to continue growing, have to become all-stars. They have to lead the way in terms of being the best. But it also takes, it's going to require improvement and growth in the areas that they struggle. They have to become better at plate discipline. Every single one of them. Don't care if you're a 10-year veteran on this team or you've played 3 games in the major leagues. The Rockies need to see improvement there. The Rockies need to strike out less. There are a million things that every single player on the Rockies need to improve on. And that trickles into the front office. When it comes to talent acquisition, the trade deadline, making the moves, calling up, dictating who is on this roster. And Bud Black needs to buy into and believe in his young guys. I do not want to and Bam Bam needs to show that he can get these guys in the position to be successful on the bump. Or not the bump, I'm sorry, at the dish. To be totally honest, as much as, we could focus on pitching here too, that right there is he needs to step it up. Bam Bam needs to show what you were brought in. You were the first person to be brought in from outside of the organization in a long time. What are we doing here? I don't want to just sit there and say the obvious here, but when we've been talking about, oh, if this happens, this could happen, blah blah blah. It isn't going to matter until the entire organization steps up and changes this course. One guy isn't going to change it. And it's not just, and that includes at the top. Because even if Momford does decide to step away in July, like he mentioned revisiting, that isn't going to immediately fix the problems. That isn't going to immediately mean the right people are going to be put in the right place. Just like the Rockies have tough decisions to make on the field, they have tough decisions to make behind the scenes as well. And a lot of them. And a lot of issues to figure out behind the scenes before they can really start saying that we're in a confident spot with this team. Because I do want to just point out here, we go over to Purple Row here from Mac Wilcox. Colorado's offense isn't where it was last year. Take a presumptive starting right fielder Jordan Beck. This time last year, prior to Wednesday's games, Beck had collected just 27 at-bats, but made them count with a 370 batting average, 519 slugging, and a 952 OPS. Now, though, his 44 at-bats have yielded just a 182, 265, 318 slash line with 2 more strikeouts. As the young outfielder fights to secure his spot on the Major League roster, this somewhat underwhelming spring season may put a dent in his aspirations. It isn't just Beck, though. Players such as Ryan McMahon, Nolan Jones, and Michael Toglia are experiencing quiet offensive spring campaigns relative to what they accomplished in 2024. Chris Bryant's struggles were mentioned on our site recently, but he isn't alone in appearing somewhat out of sorts at the plate. Now, sure, we hear constantly about how spring training stats don't matter, and there's definitely some truth to that degree, but seeing players such as these seemingly backslide during training camp just before the season starts is nothing if not a bit worrisome. Does this mean we're in for another ineffective season in the batter's box? Hopefully not, but these numbers give pause. Colorado's offense has been much maligned over the last few seasons, with the concept of Coors Field as a hitter's ballpark being constantly challenged. Turning the corner and scoring runs in support of their starting pitchers must be priority 1A for a team trying to avoid 100 losses for the 3rd straight season. I'm not trying to be a downer here, but that's a storyline that appears likely to continue into 2025. Entering his 3rd season as the club's hitting coach, Hensley Bam Bam Mullins is likely going to be working with more young stars than ever, and how they transition to MLB pitching will be one of the main determining factors of the team's success or lack thereof. That means you got to be ready. You got to step it up. You got to adjust. I'm not full like red alert, bad springs, everything is over. But the Rockies can't afford a slow start. The Rockies, if they want to show that they are bouncing back, if they want to show that they're ricocheting off the bottom, they need a fast start. But unfortunately, the signs are pointing to us saying, oh boy, These guys are not coming out the gate hot. Maybe it's once they get into the real deal, they'll be able to do it. But this Rockies team starts out on the road. And there is little, if any, time to waste for the Colorado Rockies. So many people are in prove-it mode. Because if they don't, if it is another year of the same, massive, massive, massive changes need to come to the Colorado Rockies. If this team comes through and it's a wet fart to start the season and it's a wet fart throughout the rest of the season, then that needs to be evaluated and say, this ain't working, this group ain't working, this philosophy ain't working, this approach ain't working. And I don't know what more of a way to throw that in the face of your team than a possible third straight 100-loss season. In order to avoid being the laughingstock of baseball, every single player, manager, coach, and front office member has to step it up this year. Plain and simple. All right, folks, we are going to take a quick break, and then we are going to do what we do. We are going to talk Rockies comments from the Locked On Rockies comment section because you folks got the stuff on your mind. Let's dive into that coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Rockies here, winding down the show with our listener comments. Thanking you all again for making us your first listen of the day. Here we go. Let's dive into our comments here. TK says he clearly deserves to be in the rotation. We're talking about Chase there, Chase Dollander. He has the best stuff on the staff and learned from his early hiccups with the home runs. This is a true ace and the first one they have drafted. Let's go young. The closer should be Agnos. Look at his stats and look at the walks. You won't see many. Get a closer who goes after guys with confidence and control. No walks at Coors. I'm with you, TK. No walks at Coors. And I mean, Chase puts an interesting perspective here. What is the point of a four-man rotation? Isn't now a good time to give Chase a go? See what happens? We'll see. Adam says it's time for the Rockies to get to the playoffs. Rockies fan since 1993. Worked at Coors Field from 96 to 2007. Four-man rotation is effective only on a healthy basis, but for the Rockies to compete with the Dodgers, Giants, Padres, and Arizona, four-man rotation is needed because everybody in the West got a four-man rotation healthy. Hey, shout-outs to you, Adam. Drop some more comments about cool stuff that you did while you were working there. Shout-outs to all the people that do work at Coors Field, making it a great place to be all summer long and taking care of us out there. Shout-outs to all of our Coors Field workers there. Jess still upset about Dick Monfort there, says I get a double whammy, A's and Rocks every year. Same BS. Jim says pitching is what I hope will make a difference. Hitting right now is a question mark for me. I wish I could say that I don't have question marks for both of them, but I think the bigger question mark right now is the hitting because it needs to be – this is something that we need to see improvement of. Useless Trucker says Rockies should cancel their season. If they did that, this podcast would be so hard to do. The offseason is already hard enough to talk with no Rockies baseball. How would I do a Rockies podcast with no Rockies to talk about? Timothy says, I would love to have Chase there. He has the mentality and the stuff. I know the schedule is reflective of having a four-man rotation with the days off. The Rockies do have two pitchers coming back from injury. Giving extra days and having Dollander and Blaylock makes more sense. We'll see. Maybe I think Chase is supposed to get one more start in spring training. We'll see if maybe that moves the needle enough for Bud Black and the Rockies. Let's see here. G says, off-topic comment, is fundamental baseball not effective in Major League Baseball? I could drag a bunt down the line when I was 12 years old. I haven't seen an awesome bunt in Major League Baseball in 3 years. I love small ball. It's part of the game strategy. The bunt obviously is still a factor, and some teams do still do it. Why isn't it as prevalent? I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming it's a victim of the three true outcomes. probably the stuff with the shift back when the shift was as big of a deal there. But I think if you watch closely, I think if you watch good offenses, if you watch teams, I think you'll see more bunting than you think. But yeah, the small ball stuff has certainly changed. But I do wonder with now that last year we had to see what the impact of all the rule changes, stealing bases, the pickoffs, all that stuff. Now that we've kind of seen these changes now a little bit, I wonder now if the focus will turn to, hey, let's use a bunt to get here, because there were multiple times where you're like, everyone shifted to the right side of the infield. Why don't we just push bunt down the left side, or something like that? But I would imagine the biggest reason why baseball has shifted from that is because of the three true outcomes type of stuff. And for the Rockies, they got to hit the ball first. They got to get on base in anything for it to be productive there. But I think small ball still exists. I just think it looks a little different. It's a hard way to explain it, but part of me is kind of like, I think small ball even factors into like drawing walks and good plate discipline a little bit. I know that's not like one for one what it is, but my main guess, my main answer for you there, G, is it would be the shift to that power hitting and walk, strikeout, home run type of mentality. Felix says, Rockies Nation. Great podcast, Paul. Thank you so much, Felix, and thank you all for tuning in and making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. We'll be back in action with you here all week long and breaking down all things Colorado Rockies as we are entering the final week until the regular season. What will the Rockies do? What will we do as Rockies fans here as we gear up and get excited for the season? What do you want to know? What's on your mind? Let me know in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB or Locked On Fantasy Baseball. And if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs, all free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. And until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.